Welcome back in. It's the PennLive Wrestling Podcast, back from a 2-week holiday break. Dave Heckard's joining me, Dustin Hawkinsmith here. Wrestling took a little bit of a break, so we did as well. But last week, Dave, we came back kind of fast and furious with that stretch of holiday tournaments, which, you know, as a coach, and now you're in living civilian life, it's meant a little something different to you this holiday stretch. But to me, it always marks kind of like a new beginning. You get the 2-pound allowance. You got guys settling into the weights that we're ultimately probably going to see them at, and then they debut in a lot of competitive situations. And we'll break some of those situations down. Some of these tournaments that we saw, Trojan Wars and Powerade, and the Hurricane Classic. But what's life like for you now as a non-wrestling coach versus the wrestling coach who had to kind of like bite your fingernails the entire break to make sure kids were kind of doing the right stuff?
Right. Well, welcome back, man. We were off there for a couple of weeks, but it's good to be back. The biggest difference for me, I think, was the going back to work part. I feel like, coaching wrestling, and I'm sure the other coaches, could probably attest to this. Through the holiday break, you deal with so many inconsistent practices and, kids may be missing because they go away or whatever it may be. But I was always excited for the school year or the new year to start back with work in the classroom again whenever I was coaching, because it meant normal practice times. We're back into the routine. The team season here in January is kicking off. We're going to roll right into the postseason. It's a good time. We're going to go back, and with now, I don't have that to look forward to. So here I am this morning, sitting at my desk, and students start coming in, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this is happening. I feel like you blink your eyes and, there you are back in the class. But no, the break was relaxing, without the hustle bustle wrestling. But, as you know, and did yourself, we followed a lot of, what went on around the area. And, we got some good stuff to talk about here tonight. So.
Yeah, I mean, we start locally, I guess, with Chambersburg and Trojan Wars and the tournament that they put on. And I know we talked about this a little bit before, but just the interesting dynamic that you saw unfold in a lot of these weight classes, where there were great unknowns with kids from Virginia and Delaware and Maryland and West Virginia, guys that some of them had some reputations, some of them had some accolades. There were some surprises along the way. But when the dust all settled here, West Perry, Double-A West Perry, in this kind of group of a lot of Triple-A teams, these out-of-state teams, it was West Perry kind of dramatically taking that team title down there. And I think just for me, it was just another reminder that this group is a really, really good group. I'm fascinated to see as we start making our way through January and towards District 3 team championships, how they stack up with the Boiling Springs. And in this tournament, they stacked up very well against Boiling Springs. How they stack up against Bishop McDevitt. Not a lot of crossover there yet, but for this occasion, really good showing from West Perry.
No, it was. And not only did West Perry do well, I mean, Pennsylvania kicked some tuckus too. So, that was good to see.
But I love it.
Yes. Good old Pennsylvania. But anyway, I was impressed with West Perry's win of the tournament. And I, this year, looking at the tournament, I thought that, they still had a good number of teams, some good teams. Now, oddly enough, a lot of the same teams have always been there, but I did feel like a little bit at some of those teams, maybe the talent was down a little, but I mean, I feel like, West Perry, man, they showed up for sure and, did well. I was really impressed with, like we talked, the Morrison kid and yeah. That 215 and getting that pin in the final and that was impressive. And again, Devin Jackson over the young man from Bald Eagle area, the Phi kid from Bald Eagle. That was a nice win for him. And then the other guys placing all around. And yeah, I mean, they just had a good effort. And, it is tough though. I will say some teams are better tournament teams than they are dual meet teams. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying West Perry is not. I'm just saying there can be a difference there, between tournaments and matches and whatnot. But I've said this from the start. I think West Perry can wrestle, they can scrap. So regardless, AA, AAA, they bring a lot of firepower to their lineup, and they put that on display this weekend, or this past weekend at Trojan Wars, and I think they had 2, 4, 5, 6 placers, 7 placers. Morrison, Jackson, the other Morrison, Ziegler, Hockenberry Folk finished 6th. That's 5, 6,
So
5,
five,
yeah,
five,
five,
five
five,
total
yep,
by my count, unless I missed
yep.
somebody.
No,
But
you're good. You're right. Five's right. Five's right.
two
That's
things quick.
impressive.
One thing, we are recording another episode later, previewing the week in West Perry and their dual lineup against Cumberland Valley. We'll have you break that one down for us. But in this one, it did have a little bit of a dual vibe because West Perry is in the hunt for the team title. They're down. I think they're trailing by, I think, 8.5 points when Brad Morrison's out there at 215. They started at 126 and wrapped around to finish at 120. So they're down to Bald Eagle area 8.5 points at 215. Morrison looks like he's winning handily. I think he stretches his lead to 6-0 or 6-1, something like that. But he keeps working for it. And I didn't get a chance to talk to Brad and ask him this question, but if the team title was on the line and on his mind, and he was fighting for that, and certainly he could have been fighting for the pin for his own sake too,
Right.
just to finish. But that had a competitive vibe, like a duel. And then you come back around, and whoever won that match at 13 between Devin Jackson and Lucas Fye, that team was winning the team title. And you saw how good that one was with a flurry late, and Devin Jackson did a really nice job to stave off a takedown and then counter for his own too. So it had that sort of competitive duel environment as they were competing for this thing. I really think, West Perry is pretty good in both of those regards, tournaments and duels.
Yeah, no, that's. I'm glad you did mention that. I mean, it is really exciting when you go to an individual tournament and it comes down to the end where there's a couple teams like, chasing for that spot. And I mean, that's one thing that I know wrestling coaches always stress is scoring bonus points in tournaments when you can, like, at nationals and college, like, that's what they want there is guys to score bonus points to chase that team title. So when you get like a good race, oh man, it makes it so much better. I mean, the coaches are into it. Even the kids that aren't wrestling are into it. The fans are more into it. So yeah, you are right. And I agree with you again about West Perry being both a good dual team and a good tournament team. So a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun.
Good sense about them. And I really just obviously Devin Jackson's story, we've told that a lot around here, and no less impressive today than it was before with everything that he goes through in the off season and everything that he's gone through in his life for him to compete as hard as he does. Brad Morrison, I really just like his style. I've liked the Morrison style for a while now, but just low key, consistent, heady, steady. Doesn't really make too much or too little of a moment. Just kind of has a way of staying kind of focused for that moment. And this was a good example of that for him at 215. I think Brad Morrison is a real factor at the district and the state podium level at that weight. I think he looked outstanding there.
West Perry, their kids, they're a team of character, aren't they? Like, I feel like all their kids are just good kids, and they wrestle hard, and I know Coach May, if he listens, Chaz and Zach Cohen, you guys have a team of character, and for a coach, that's one of the best compliments you can have. Is you have a team of good kids, and they do, man. And they're not, they're not me people. They're about the team, and they work hard, and so good stuff there with all that. But
Perry County grit, man. Perry County grit.
And that's what I feel like you said about the Morrison kid. That's what he has. You know what I mean? Like there's dogs and cats in wrestling. You know what I mean? And Morrison is a dog, man. He's gonna wear you down. He's gonna grind on you until you eventually break, and he gets the fall, at the end of the match for the team. And so, I just think like his style that you mentioned and how you like it, I think you said it, like it embodies, like who West Perry is as a team. And that's neat to see.
There were some matches, Central Dolphin wrestled some of these matches where like a Timmy Smith is late in a match and they need bonus, and it's a 3-1 match, and he's working for it, and it looks like it's out of the question that he's going to get more than 3 for his team, and then bam, gets a fall for 6. That's what happened with Brad Morrison here, and his style lends itself to that, where you could see a real momentum swing in a match against Boiling Springs or whoever. And if if they wrestle McDevitt and it's a Bryce Enders, Brad Morrison rematch. But you could see Brad Morrison leading similarly and get a big pin. Yeah. And get big bonus for his team.
Yeah.
Boiling Springs, I thought was, a nice finish for them. I think Trevor will definitely say that they're angling towards peaking here in the next 3 to 4 weeks, getting guys where they belong. Competitive at almost every weight. I think there were some pleasant surprises along the way here with Ian Wilson coming in 6th and Colin Neal hitting the podium at 6th and Jacob Scott hitting the podium at 8th. Michael Dugan lost a couple matches in this one and finished 4th. Eli Bounds finished 4th. But the kid that really jumped out to me, Coben Carper, finishing 2nd in that 138-pound weight class, loses 10-8 to Dom Findora, who I know you were impressed by him, seeing him at Cumberland Valley. Coben Carper, I feel like his potential is still out there somewhere. Right. He hasn't hit his ceiling yet, and I felt like this was an encouraging performance for him.
Yeah, I was impressed with that score too. That was a battle, and I don't know. I didn't even check on this, and I should have. Were him and Findora at different weights at the kickoff classic? Carper might have been up a weight, so they might have not even seen each other, been in the same weight class. I'm thinking maybe.
Good question. So, yeah,
but either way, the Findora kid is tough, and for him to be in that match and almost win that match at like I said, 10-8, that's a battle. And they had 6 place winners, in that tournament. So I think Trevor, those guys have been around for a while. They get it, and like you said about the peaking, they're going to make sure that their kids are wrestling their best when it matters most, and it matters most in the team tournament and the individual tournament, right? Like, so they'll be there at the end of the year. They have a good group, and I agree with you. They had some other kids who just missed placing that I thought had pretty good tournaments. So they're going to be fine here come postseason, come the next couple of weeks here in the team stuff, and you're going to find them and at the end here one of the teams in the mix for sure.
So yeah, these 2 teams, 2 of the top 3 teams in District 3, without a doubt, in my mind. And then you have Trinity, who has more finalists than both of them. 3 kids in the finals for Joe Peretta and his team. 2 guys, Tucker Painter and Jagger Gray, winning. Tucker Painter at 189, Jagger Gray at 172. Major Lewis ran into a really tough kid from Maryland, Matthew Dolan, who I don't know if you got a chance to watch that match, but just he was a physical, tough, get after you type kid, and ended up pinning Major Lewis in that 106 final. But Major Lewis's body of work still really impressive so far this season as a junior. I think of that group, Jagger Gray had the best tournament, maybe the more surprising tournament, to beat the Garrett Garcia kid from Southern Columbia, who I believe was ranked number 3 by PA Power Wrestling coming in. And I felt like I got a chance to talk to Jagger after the tournament. And he said that it's almost like it's about time. He has believed and believed and believed that he is on that upper tier of wrestlers in Pennsylvania. And this was a really nice win, maybe to help him turn that corner and consistently stay there.
Yeah, I when I saw the results there for Trinity, I was checking through the tournaments, and it was actually that day, the day of the finals, and I wanted to see the results, and I saw that Jagger and Tucker both won. That's an impressive tournament for them, for both of them. But so I called Joe up on the phone and congratulated him and whatnot, and just that win over Garcia for Jagger Gray. I feel like you have those wins in high school that all of a sudden can propel you. You grab a big win over a name, or you beat somebody with, and again, Garcia, he hasn't, the younger one, he still has to, he didn't accomplish what his brothers did yet, but I mean, again, he's the pedigree's there, and I mean, he very well could. So that's a big win for him. A big name in wrestling there to get that win over. And I'll tell you what, I at the beginning of the year, I didn't know, where Jagger would be come postseason, but man, he's going to be in the thick of things for sure. And I mean, I'm hoping that guy can go out and grab a state medal, for Trinity and for District 3 this year. Good body of work. But if you remember back, like, at the beginning when we were doing the previews, and I mentioned this, like the workout partners, right? Like, so here's Jagger and Tucker, right? So both of them, Trojan Wars champions. Well, that's who they're working out with in practice, right? So, iron sharpens iron, and especially in wrestling. So, and that's what you're going to see here is both of those guys are going to keep training with each other. They're going to keep improving. And, Tucker, and Tucker, I mean, he went out and took care of business, in an impressive way. So I was impressed, man. I think both those guys wrestled tough. I'm happy for Joe. I'm happy for both of them. And now the big thing is, to the wrestlers that win a big tournament over holiday break is put it away too. Like, yeah, you won Trojan Wars, right? But guess what? That's over now. So we got to move forward and keep working hard and not just be happy, we won Trojan Wars, and keep improving and keep working, and that's the key. Stay hungry, stay hungry and keep working hard. And but no, great for them and great for District 3 for Trinity getting those two guys on, gold medals and then Lewis coming in. And yeah, I mean, that good tournament for them. Good tournament.
You know what I think is interesting with Jagger Gray and Tucker Painter is that I feel like Tucker Painter in so many situations, because he has such a long, big frame, he's going to often find himself with guys that he's taller than. And so I think in that respect, Jagger Gray is probably a pretty good partner for him going down. And then on the other side, I think Jagger Gray, and this was his, kind of the problem when he was wrestling up at 89 last year is running into kids who were bigger than him and trying to figure out how to solve that problem. So it's almost like what they're going to see in the postseason, they're seeing pretty consistently in the room with each other and are not only, high caliber kids, but the right kind of workout partners for each other.
Yeah, and I mentioned that to Joe, and he's like, "Hey, don't forget, I get in there sometimes too and wrestle." So if you're listening, Joe, man, you're getting older, buddy. So you think you grab a hold of those guys, but you better be careful. I'll tell you that. But
that old man strength has an expiration date. Like you don't get a big head about it. Yeah,
it does. Next thing you know, you'll be retired. What the heck? So no, good for them, and good for Trinity. So.
One last note here as it pertains to District 3, not necessarily locally, but they did save this match for last. Mason Leapart versus Gabe Gianpietro.
Yeah,
I have to say it a couple times.
Right.
Yeah, that extra syllable in there at the end kind of throws me, so I had to sound it out. But save that matchup at 120 for last. This kid from Maryland was in the Beast of the East finals a couple weeks prior to this. This is a kid who can wrestle, and they know each other a little bit. They've been drill partners in certain situations before. They wrestled competitively against each other a couple times. They knew each other pretty well. It was a really interesting match to save for last. And then what you ended up seeing was Mason Leapart scores the opening takedown. He said to me that was a really important part of the strategy here, was to get that first one against this kid. They had a suspicion if they were leading, they had a suspicion that this other kid would take top if he had the option in the second period, which he did. And Mason Leapart was able to kind of run out the clock on that, avoid danger, kind of knew what the other kid was looking for. And then in the third period, Mason Leapart takes top and ends up turning him and beating him 4-0. So a really solid win, and not one that you see very often, where both wrestlers by choice are taking top in the second and third period.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me to imagine. You're going bottom and we're getting the point. That's the mindset I that we have. But you're that good on top. Yeah, put yourself in your best spot. And he we've talked about him before and how just impressive he is from the top position and securing points. And when you're in big matches and you put somebody on their back, for the most part, that match should be over. Like if I score, if it's a state quarterfinals or semifinals, it's a big match, state final, and you get 2 back points. That match should be over. And with his ability to do that, and now you're not only seeing him do it to kids, that are good kids around the area here, but you're talking about a guy that was in the finals of Beast that, this kid's choosing top on and still turning. That's an impressive win for him. And I know those two have had some history there. I know, they kind of, I think the kid, he's from Maryland, correct? I think he would come up into Pennsylvania a good bit as youngsters, and they were always around each other, and there is some history there. So, you have history with somebody, and that history, and I don't care, who you are, it plays in your mental game. So, That was a good win for him and a good win for Pennsylvania.
I love Lee Part's mental game. That 120 weight class at a statewide level is going to be really interesting. You've got Vinny Kilkeary, who was a state champ 2 years ago. You got Camden Williams currently there from Manheim Township, who looked like he was right in the thick of winning a state championship last year before he missed weight at states. You got a bunch of guys. Charlie Bunting, who had a really nice week last week from Nazareth, is there. I'm missing some guys there, but it runs a legitimate 6, 7, 8 deep with guys. And, Mason Lepar is a wild card in a lot of these equations because he just wrestles different than everybody. He's sneaky strong. He's a long kid, good from top, will scramble you if he needs to, will counterattack, will stay on the attack. He's got a lot of options in his back pocket to try to win matches. And I think the diversity with which he can win matches is so important and so critical in these state championship rounds, because you run into the wrong matchup, your goal of winning a state title is dashed. And I think, Vinny Kilkeary is a good example of that. I don't think there's any question that he was probably the best kid in the 113 bracket last year. He ran into a kid whose style just slowed him down and stopped him, and he lost. He got upset. So I think he's almost matchup proof. Mason Lepart is.
He is, and that's the guy. Like when you get the state brackets, come out and you get paired up and you see who you have and all that. That's the guy you're praying's on the other side. Like there's one matchup like I don't want to see because the style, and that's Mason Lepart. Yeah, absolutely. And he's going to cause problems for people. I'm going to tell you that. And, I'm excited to see him. I think even at districts, him and, the Williams kid, battling it out. There's going to be fur flying there too. So that'll be a great match, bearing anything crazy happening. But, that's it's going to be fun. He's tough, man. And I've seen a big improvement, not only in him on top, like on his feet too. You know what I'm saying? Where, a couple of years ago at states, like he lost some matches like on his feet where guys were just, that wasn't his strongest, position. And I've seen a big improvement, the past couple of years in his neutral game too, which is essential. So he's tough, and it'll be interesting to see how he does here come postseason for sure.
Looking at the Powerade, not heavy with local teams out there. I think the two kids from McDevitt I want to talk about real quick. Riley Robel, the heavyweight, comes into this thing ranked number 13 in the country by Matt Scouts. He's in a bracket where not only are they the number 1 and number 2 heavyweights in America, Nick Feldman from Malvern Prep, Jim Mullen from St. Joseph Regional in New Jersey. They're also 2 of the top 5 pound for pound kids. So you're talking about not just really high level heavyweights, but sort of transcendent heavyweights. Yeah. Riley ended up on the bottom half of the bracket with a Jim Mullen kid who was a cadet world team silver medalist last year. I mean, he's a legit kid. Robel stretches him out, gets him in a bad spot, spins around. He scores the first takedown of the match. He escapes in the second period, almost turns him at the end of the first. He's leading 3-0. And then, I texted with him a bit after the match, he said his gas tank apparently wasn't where he thought it was. And you're talking about a kid, Jim Mullen played football too at St. Joseph, but, Riley is still trying to find that wrestling shape. And, what I texted him was, I was like, you're talking about, one of 2-3 kids in the country who can test your gas tank like that kid did. So there's no shame in no sort doubt. Of not being able to be, sprinting through the finish line there. But so he goes from leading 3-0, he loses 7-3, just wasn't able to get out from underneath the Mullen kid. And again, there's no shame in that. Wrestled really, really well. He dominated everybody else he wrestled. And then Jim Mullen goes on into the finals, and he loses 12-0 to Nick Feldman from Malvern Prep, who's just on a completely different level. But but what, not much else you could have asked there for Riley. But I really did think he was in position to steal that match from Mullen if he was able to kind of bust free one more time, kind of stave off his attacks there.
Yeah, no, and the football thing again too. I mean, Robel just got off of a state title game. So, I mean, 3 weeks ago, he was still playing football. You know what I mean? And you think about how much of, wrestling practice you miss if you miss the first 2 weeks of practice. You know what I'm saying? Like you do nothing but practice, you're training. Well, this kid comes off the football field and, there's a huge difference between being in football shape, and being in wrestling shape. And, he's up 3-0 and he hits the wall a little bit. And I guess to be expected, but here's the deal, right? Like that's just going to get you in better shape. That's going to prepare you for winning a state title. And look, Mike and Griff are good coaches. They know that. And I'm sure they've relayed that to him. There's no shame and all that. It isn't like you're a kid that is lazy at practice or doesn't work hard. And that's why you're gassing. Like you're gassing because you were on the football field 3 weeks ago when everybody's been in the room for 3 weeks, So, but he is tough. And again, how about the heavyweight weight class there? Like those three, I mean, holy cow. I think, Riley Robel, finished third at the Powerade. I think that's a great tournament for him. He got a good test in Mullen, got a good couple bouts there. Heading into, January here. Is he healthy? Yes. Is he going to, does he have room for improvement? Yes. Was he tested already? Yes. Like he's on a good track right now. I don't think that's going to be a step back for him at all. And the Christie kid, I thought that was a great tournament for him. And to the listeners, when we say like the Powerade Tournament, okay, I mean, you're talking about a meat grinder. I mean, you're talking the best guys in the country are at
four of the top 5 teams in the United States were at this thing. Malvern Prep, Wyoming Seminary, you had teams from New York and Ohio, you had teams from everywhere. You just had a lot of hammers, and there were, that heavyweight class was really, really good, but probably wasn't even the best one there in terms of nationally ranked guys. This was a absolute meat grinder. It always is, but I think it was on another level this year. You saw that in a bunch of weight classes. For Andrew Christie to get 7th at 152 pounds, I thought was a big deal. And I think, the challenge for him is that he is highly, highly competitive against all these high level kids. He wrestled Levi Haynes as tough as anybody in Pennsylvania did last year. But you're losing that one 3-0. Then I think he's stacked up a lot of results where he's wrestled really, really good kids, really, really tough. For him to go out, and I think he beat the Evan Mag kid from Notre Dame Green Pond. He beat Dylan Evans, who's a 2-time placer from AAA from Chartiers Valley, in the blood round there, and he earned his way to a 7th place finish. And just like Jagger Gray at Trojan Wars, I feel like this is kind of maybe a corner turning performance for Andrew Christie. As crazy it is to say, but I think his results to this point in his career don't match how good he is yet, because he's just run into some unfortunate weight classes, I think, in back-to-back years.
Yeah, and he is tough, and what makes him so tough is he's strong, but I mean his top game is really good, and I don't know 152 double A at the end of the year how that's going to look, but he's going to be a tough out for sure.
He's going to be in that mix, and I think this performance helps him out a little bit. Hurricane Classic at Bethlehem. You had a lot of District 11 representation. You see from all these tournaments, they do tend to be kind of a regional thing. But Aaron Seidel from Northern Lebanon doesn't give up a point. He wins that 106-pound weight class. He stays unbeaten. Really nice start to the year for him. He runs into Marco Tassi in the final there, and they're friends and workout partners. They too, just like Mason Leapart and John Pietro kid, they know each other well, and there's no secrets, and they know what's coming, and you weren't expecting a lot of points, but he wins that 1-0. I thought another good performance for Reagan Lefevre, who got his 100th win, which, by the way, I've seen an inordinate number of kids further in their careers getting win number 100 just because of all the stuff that happened last year and the lack of matches last year. Guys that should have been 100-match winners early in their junior years are now 100-match winners early in their senior years.
It's weird you said that. I forget who it was I saw. It might have been Leapart. He celebrated
his 100th win.
Yes, this at Trojan Wars. And I'm thinking, how are you going to tell me this kid doesn't have 100 wins already? But then, you start thinking last year, and you're dead on. It did have an impact.
Brad Morrison also at Trojan Wars, the final.
Yeah.
Just a strange time.
No,
this generation of kid was almost defined by the fact that they're wrestling 50 matches a year. Right. And now it's like, they're set back a whole year.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Caden Clark from Northern Lebanon also was a 5th place finisher at 152. Really good tournament. It's not, I don't think it's not Powerade, obviously, but for that part of the country. And I think for Northern Lebanon, a good fit for them to go there and be battle
Right.
tested and get some good matches against guys.
Yeah.
One last one I want to touch on a little bit, because I think the Buckskin Classic at Conestoga Valley also is a springboard into previewing the week,
Yeah.
because that tournament came down to Mifflin County won it, not by a small margin, over Central Dauphin there in the 2 spot. And you saw some of these matchups that played out at some point. Semifinals, finals in some of those weight classes will be huge Thursday night when Mifflin County travels to Central Dauphin. But I think just to put this in general, we can look into some of those individual matchups in our next episode here. But Mifflin County just really good, really deep, good upper weights. They're going to be a tough out. And if everything goes off as scheduled, you're going to have State College coming to Cumberland Valley. You're going to have Mifflin County coming to Central Dauphin, both of those on Thursday night. You should have a pretty good idea by the end of this week what's going on in the Mid-Penn Commonwealth Division, if there's going to be a District 6 revolution or not in the Commonwealth.
Well, welcome to the Mid-Penn Commonwealth, like you said. I mean, every team can, and that's the best part about this division, is the competition you're getting. And Mifflin County has some tough kids, man. And I there's some good matchups. It really surprised me, the Everly kid beating Garvick. You know what I mean? That was a big win for him, to beat Garvick at 60. And Everly's been around, so I'm not taking anything away from him, but that's a great win there. And there was a lot of different matchups throughout that tournament that you're going to see on Thursday night between Mifflin County and Central Dauphin. I think you had there at 285, Stewart and Puppo. You have Johnson and Short 120, Beers and Allmiller rematch at 132. So I was writing it out today and taking a look at the match, and that's going to be a good one, man. But both those teams. I mean, think about this. Think about Gettysburg when they enter the Mid-Penn Commonwealth. You know what I mean?
Crazy. Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be awesome. So I'm excited for that. But that match on Thursday is going to be a good one. And again, man, it's just the strength of the Commonwealth, and you're good dual meets every time you show up. And that's good for the sport. And the Buckskin definitely led into that for Thursday night. So
it's a good segue. We're gonna wrap up this edition of the PennLive Wrestling Podcast for now. We are going to come back, so make sure you check us out on Spotify, Acast, iTunes, and iHeartRadio, and check out the latest episode too. We've done a lot of reviewing what happened during Holiday Tournament Week. We're going to come right back and preview as we get into the heart of the dual schedule here in the Mid-Penn and around District 3. So make sure you join us again here on the PennLive Wrestling Podcast, and we'll see you then.